Good afternoon. Welcome to this program today, this edition of Farmers Empowerment Series. We are happy to have you join us. This program is brought to you by Split Technology, and today we'll be discussing on how we improve the poultry productivity with technology. How can this be possible, and what do we need to have in mind regarding this? Our speaker is ready. And before I call this speaker, I will have to read this profile. If you are new to this channel, please don't forget to hit the notification bell and also subscribe. Our speaker is ready, Mr. Ante Joseph. Ante Joseph is a dynamic Nigerian with a construction background and now a full-time budding social entrepreneur and the co-founder and CEO of Matalos NASA International Limited, an agri-tech company that runs a digital marketplace called Farmisphere and provides smart food systems using agricity. Farmisphere helps smallholder farmers to enjoy access to wider markets, while agricity provides a technology-based smart agri-pyramid infrastructural system for cottage and urban farming. Joseph is a one-word ambassador and a 2022 DSM scholar. His work made him a match winner at the Agro Challenge by EDC Pan Atlantic University and Mastercard Foundation. He was also a finalist and was awarded the champion team by the United Nations FAO at Xinjiang University, China. He also emerged first place for the Africa Business Support by Youth Primer International. Joseph's commitment to innovations has further earned him the prestigious honor to be listed among the top 20 African innovators and entrepreneurs by the University Forum Capacity Building in Agriculture and Rural Forum. He was also a finalist and was awarded the champion team by the United Nations FAO at Xinjiang University, China. He also emerged first place for the African Business Support by Youth Primer International. Joseph's commitment to innovations has further earned him the prestigious honor to be listed among the top 20 African innovators and entrepreneurs by the Regional University Forum for Capacity Building in Agriculture Forum. Furthermore, his startup aims to bridge the deficit of quality food available to urban dwellers by designing and producing suitable food systems, and also to start up a movement to equip younger students in high school kicked off, which is called the Young City Farmers Initiative. This has made the startup AgriCity to be supported by the Orange Corners program, an initiative of the Kingdom of Netherlands and implemented by Faith Foundation. Joseph's work made him a match winner at the Agro Challenge by EDC Pan Atlantic University and Mastercard Foundation. Ladies and gentlemen, please let us welcome Mr. Joseph. Mr. Joseph, good afternoon. How are you
Good
today?
afternoon. I'm very fine. Thank you very much, Miwa.
You are welcome on
Nice
board,
being here.
and we're happy to have you.
Thank you. Nice being here also.
Okay, how are you today? And how is the weather there?
Fine. Thank God. The weather is cool as usual, and I'm good. What about you? How you doing? And
I'm fine. It's hot here right now in Lagos, Nigeria.
No problem. Um, it's I think it's a bit cold here. I think because of the Hamatan and I
Oh,
just yeah because I'm somewhere in the north, so that's why. But it's fine. Cool.
that's great.
Thank you very much. So are we starting now?
Okay, yes, you can begin.
Okay, just a minute, please. So thank you very much once again to the entire team of FamSpeak and also Darlene partners, the USAID, for making this possible and for bringing us together to actually learn. So clearly, I'll be speaking on improving poultry productivity, utilizing or using technology or with technology. And it's clearly a kind of broad topic, especially considering the industry and the various aspects that we add to play along in terms of the industry. But to do justice to this, I think I'll be able to help to break it down a bit and to also, in terms of breaking it down, I would try as much as possible to also identify various aspects within the industry that technology has helped to impact to bring about productivity. And in terms of productivity, one of the things that I think we should also understand is that in terms of productivity, productivity can be enhanced as a result of lesser time to be able to carry out or to be able to carry out an activity apart from lesser time. Also, productivity can be enhanced if there is higher yield. Productivity also can be enhanced if the labor is actually reduced and is not as intense as it's supposed to be, maybe through the use of machineries that is enabled by technology. But one of the things I want us to look at specifically, especially those of us that find ourselves within this aspect of the value chain, is to be able to identify these various areas and look at a way where we can play into or where we can be able to fit into so that we can have a more robust, apart from having a more robust, we can also have a more productive um, poultry sector or poultry system. As we all know, in terms of what we have in Nigeria, Nigeria currently has a deficit of over 70% of poultry meats and eggs. And according to per statistics, I think we need about 640,000 metric tons of eggs, in which we've just been able to meet about 30%. And there is currently a deficit of over 70% for that of meat. So if we have, or the local farmers as well as the big players as and the smallholder farmers have just been able to meet about 30% of the demand for meat and eggs, leaving about 70% deficit, which is actually tackled or actually complemented by import as well as smuggling. We know that we have a huge part to play. And for this huge
Hello, Mr. Joseph.
part, can you hear me?
Yes, yes. Seems why we're having issue with your audio.
Okay,
I
my
don't know.
audio, is it going off or is not loud enough?
Please go ahead, continue.
Is it
Yes.
loud enough
I
or
think
is
it's
it
a
good?
bit better.
Okay, but it was not loud enough, right?
It's loud. It's loud.
Okay, okay. So as I was actually saying, to be able to meet the current needs of over 70%, I think one of the things that we need to do is to adequately combine technology as well as various means to be able to increase productivity and improve the productivity in terms of poultry production. So first of all, I think we've been able to properly divide or properly list out various aspects or various areas in the value chain in terms of poultry production that we can be able to merge technology to improve the productivity. And part of what we've been able to look at extensively is that in the pre-harvest phase, in which we have one, the housing and the inputs, two, the diet and nutrition, three, records and bookkeeping. That's pre-harvest before this products are being harvested, either for meat or for eggs. First of all, we have to take care of the housing and the input. And the input involves a lot of things, including the stocks, including the birds and other things. So part of what we have to do and we have to look at in terms of how we can be able to improve this productivity, poultry productivity with technology is first of all identifying various areas in which technology can play. And when we talk about technology, we are not just only referring to the digital aspect of technology, which is part of what we are going to talk about, but also we are referring also to mechanizations, machines, input. It can also be hardware. It can be in form of hardware. It can also be in form of digital or software enabled devices or software enabled things. And that's part of what I want us to actually look at briefly and how also with one or two examples of various startups, example like our host, which is FarmSpeak, part of where they've been able to play within this six listed out things, probably the pre-harvest and also the post-harvest, where they've been able to play, how far they've been able to play, and how their technology is actually improving poultry productivity. And the advice that we can give to farmers to be able to ensure that they adopt some of this technology to be able to improve productivity. And part of it is one of the mistakes that most of smallholder farmers make is one, we want to play a major part in all aspects of the industry. But one of the things that can be able to do is focus on one. And by the time we focus on one and improve that one with the right technology, with the right things, and once you've improved that, because of the current deficit that we have within the country and because of the need to also scale up production, and not just scaling up production, utilizing technology so that our production will have maximum impact. One of the things that we can be able to do, apart from just pitching our tent in one of these various aspects of value chain within this industry, is also to utilize technology as well as forming various kind of clusters. And if you check what the FarmSpeak team they're doing, actually getting farmers, smallholder farmers together, forming clusters and presenting them with their technologies and various technologies across each board and part of what you're doing, you see that those clusters will be able to ensure that once these technologies are properly implemented or once these technologies are used, the productivity within this area would actually increase and it to be improved. And also the productivity that is needed to actually ensure that the yield in terms of meat and eggs increases would actually be achieved. And that is part of what we have to do. So moving down, I think let's start with, first of all, the pre-harvest. Pre-harvest in terms of how we can improve poultry productivity with technology. First of all, in terms of the pre-harvest, we have what we call the housing and input. And part of what we have to look at in terms of, I'll take the housing first of all, and also the input. How will the use of technology, or how will the introduction of technology into the housing of most of these poultry birds, how will it improve productivity? How will it improve poultry productivity? first of all, we should know that the housing of these livestock actually plays a very important role and plays a vital role in their overall performance. And as we all know, there are specific things that has to do with the housing of some of this. And if you look at it for large scale farmers, a lot is being put into the housing in terms of ensuring that there's proper insulation, in terms of ensuring that um, proper environmental conditions that are appropriate for the performance or the overall performance of these birds or these livestock is actually met. And the use of comfortable and convenient housing system with the right conditions to be able to ensure that these birds are actually at the optimal condition that they require to perform is actually there. For example, you have properly insulated housing units for birds, especially from large scale farmers that are being implemented. And some of this are implemented in such a way that all right conditions are there. Like, for example, in Europe, you know that there are current bans on the use of battery cage, and part of the reason why there are current bans on the use of battery cage in time past is because the battery cage confines the bird to a particular kind of condition and does not allow these birds to be able to freely move around as well as perform various activities. That is over there in Europe. So when you come down this path in terms of African setting, because of the amount of money that is actually needed to be able to build some of these sophisticated pens, so smallholder farmers go into a lot cheaper kind of option. And apart from going into a lot cheaper kind of option, so most of these technologies that will be used on a norm in some of these large housing units cannot be implemented in some of the small systems. Example, the whole place are being covered up, and you have birds that their air conditions, there are a lot of things that are there, and there are sensors, and the whole system is properly automated that once the temperature rises to a particular level, maybe the air conditions are automatically turns off because of the sensors that are detecting temperature rise in temperature. And once the temperature falls to a particular level, they are setting maybe things air conditioning units that turns on back again to be able to maintain the atmospheric condition of that particular place. So when you look at that, it's not something that can be affordable for a smallholder farmers. But as smallholder farmers, what are some of the things that we can be able to do? How can we, at our own level, implement the use of technology in terms of housing and in terms of other things to be able to also achieve really not that kind of result that may be achieved by the large and bigger players, but at least a kind of result that can a bit be similar to that. So part of what we have to discourse on that is that to be able to achieve that is to ensure that maybe there are inputs, there are add-ons that are used within this housing unit to be able to get probably a desired result. For example, the team farm speak is they are doing a fantastic job in terms of part of the input or part of the system or the device that they create. Example is the use of the pen keep. And as you all know, I think they're actually bringing in more add-ons to the pen keep that also ensures that there's automation within the system. Probably the pen keep monitors the environmental conditions of a particular place and everything. So now, how does this technology impact or improve productivity? One, in terms of this, for example, if you have a pen keep within your farm, so you know that for a particular age of bird, so the temperature is not supposed to exceed this particular maybe degree Celsius. So you can be able to introduce heaters in any form, either manual kind of heaters or a kind of maybe the gas kind of heaters or gas kind of burners or the ones that uses electric, and you can be able to have that introduced so that your pen is not too cold to be able to affect the condition of the birds, affect the condition of the birds in terms of the birds dying or the birds not actually giving the desired output because the particular condition that they need to function optimally is not there. So part of what this is actually doing with smallholder farmers, because if you're talking about the large scale farmers may not maybe need some of these devices, but some of these devices are made specifically for some of the smallholder farmers to be able to ensure that there is use of technology to improve their productivity. Like for example, with what I said earlier. So if you have the large scale farmer, he constructs his pen, and the pen actually has most of maybe these devices that automatically turns on air conditioning system, checks the temperature 247, and once there's actually a reduction, it automatically or increase. If there's an increase in temperature, it automatically turns off the cooling system and turns on the heating system to a desired temperature that maintains everything. You see that that is actually built together with some of this building, but because of the industry that we play in terms of this part of the world, we have more of the smallholder farmers. So how do they bring in, or how you that are on the call as a smallholder farmer, how do you introduce technology in a kind of way so that your productivity can improve? This is part of what I'm talking about. So you have various people or various players already playing within this industry, but it's how can I identify them? How can I come in contact with them? How can I form clusters within the poultry industry to be able to improve productivity? So part of it is maybe the use of devices like PenKeep, and I think they are coming up with some of the things that can also automate the feeding system and also the drinkers and also the heating system. Maybe can be connected to your heating system or to your heating system, or maybe the heat extractors that can be able to reduce the heat condition of the pen. So no matter how the pen is, or no matter how it is, especially with the issue of climate change, whereby various aspects of weather condition that we've experienced in time past is not what we're experiencing now. So you have a lot of things that has to do with environmental conditions that are affecting the productivity of the affecting the productivity of poultry production. So one of the things that we have to do currently is how can we, as various players, come in and actually ensure that we utilize some of this technology. So in the aspect of the input, we see that the use of smart inputs, which can maybe automate the feeding systems or can sterilize foods that are being carried to the birds, is actually vital. And also the use of some of these inputs that can be able to track the environmental condition. Example is the pen keep, and the pen keep that can be able to track some of this environmental condition is very, very vital. And when you actually put this, you can see that over time productivity is actually improved. Example, if you have chicks, we all know that there's certain temperature or certain degree that should actually be there. So, what some of these devices or some of this technologically enabled device can do is to ensure that part time there's a monitoring of this particular place that you've been able to keep your products. So there's a monitoring part time, and when there's a monitoring part time, there's a feedback that is given to you as the owner or as the manager or as the farmer, as the case may be, whatever you choose to call yourself. So it's given to you part time. So as it's given to you part time, you are able to successfully monitor. Apart from monitoring, you've been able to successfully also track. Apart from tracking, you've been able to ensure that that condition is maintained, so you don't have huge form of mortalities as a result of colds. The chicks, you don't the chicks don't develop other kind of sicknesses and also diseases as a result of various things. Example, your heating system they are not actually much smokes that can be able to affect the birds by giving them cough and other things like that. So this would actually help to be able to ensure that productivity on the long run is improved. Next, apart from that, in terms of the pre-harvest that we have, apart from the housing and the inputs, we also have things that relate to diet and feeding. And diet and feeding is very, very vital. And why it's very, very vital and why technology actually is coming in here is that there are a lot of things that has to do with diet as well as nutrition. Diet and nutrition in terms of poultry productivity. This is another vital area. Apart from the housing and inputs that we have discussed earlier, and the input also, lest I forget, the input also, the birds, the quality of the birds that you get actually matters. But nowadays we don't have a lot of problems with the quality of birds because mostly, and especially when you get from a good source, most of the birds, if you don't know or if you must be able to know the names and what you really want and how you really want those birds. So most of the big names, like the likes of the Amo, the Zatek, the Chi and others, they get these birds in terms of inputs directly, especially when you are connected to the right source or you can get it directly. So most of the time, we don't have much issues with the input as regards the stocking of some of those birds. But part of the things that we have issues with is actually diet and nutrition. And as diet and nutrition actually is, we have that the feeding and feed additives that are used is very, 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 very vital. Sorry, there may be some typo in our slide. So the feeding and the feed addictive is very, very vital. And part of how technology has been able to come in, one, in terms of feeding and nutrition, also in terms of management of waste, technology has been able to come in. We have the likes of some organizations such as um, it's no organics, Mac proteins, and the rest, and they are innovating or they are improving and bringing in technology in terms of production of insectarium and the use of various systems using maybe housing system sensors and the rest to be able to produce or provide insects through the black soldier fly means as an alternative source of fish meal and an alternative source of protein. So in terms of dieting, technology has been able to help in terms of diet and nutrition. And also why technology has been able to help in terms of diet and nutrition is not only just to improve the quality of meat or eggs that are being produced, but also to also manage the output during day-to-day production, and also to reduce the cost of production. Example, how technology has been able to impact the production of insectarium. Insectarium has been able to reduce feed production by about 30%. So reducing feed production by about 30% because of various elements that are being added and because of the seamless use of technology to be able to produce these insects that replaces one of the most expensive vital elements in terms of feed production, which is actually protein, has actually helped a lot and has helped greatly to be able to reduce the cost of feed production, thereby reducing the overall production and poultry production. And that's part of it. So in terms of feed additives, we've had technology actually improving or being very, very significant in terms of improving poultry productivity. Also, currently there are various industries. I think there's a product that is called Balanci- Balanciers and ProAct, which combines the use of biotechnology and bioscience, and it offers a kind of additives that ensures higher protein rate conversion with birds. And this has been able to result in improve in terms of livestock, improve in terms of productivity. That's amongst those that actually use some of these additives. And part of what these additives actually do is they are they also reduce the waste that is actually consumed, or the waste that is actually produced by some of these birds. So it has actually helped in a kind of way. And part of most of these addictives and um, most of these addictives, as well as feeds, has actually helped to improve productivity, and it's as a result, strictly as a result of use or the use of technology. And also, we have things like probiotics, which can help to enhance yolk pigmentation in terms of yolk pigmentation in eggs, as well as improve meat quality in general. So some of this has been able to ensure that we have, or we've been able to have, like quality products. For example, we have like the Pro Act. I think the Pro Act is I think it's produced by DSM, and I think Novatics, and you have things like it helps to reduce, one of the things that it helps to reduce is it helps to reduce the feed protein content by zero point 0.5 to about 0.8 percent. And this helps in terms of improving protein utilization, as I've said earlier, by birds. That means it helps the digestibility aid, and it increases it by up to 7 percentage points. And this helps to lower the protein intakes by the birds logically. And it also helps to actually reduce nitrogen in terms of protein manure, in terms of poultry manure, which actually helps to or contributes to reducing ammonia in the long run, as well as CO2 indirect emissions, while achieving higher productivity in terms of meat, in terms of eggs, and in terms of the quality of produce that is being produced. So part of the input of technology in diet and nutrition has been able to properly help to improve poultry productivity. And one of the things that smallholder farmers must be able to realize is that some of these things are not entirely expensive, but must be used. And if they are used, we begin to see better results. We begin to see more quality foods, and we begin to have our livestock grow faster, grow bigger, and it actually aids in it. So another aspect how of technology in terms of improve is actually in the pre-harvest area, is actually in records and bookkeeping. And this is very, very vital, apart from what we've said about the housing and input, and also in nutrition and diet and nutrition that we've said. Another very important area where technology is actually helping or affecting or improving poultry productivity is in records and bookkeeping. Why? One, the use of digital record can also ensure that things like vaccination, feeding time, last treatment, current age of birds, etc., is not missed. Example, we know that there are monthly vaccinations that the laying bed's supposed to have, and every other thing like that. There are times whereby medications, there are various things that these birds are supposed to take. So the use of digital records, and I think farm speak is actually also playing a vital role within this part, as well as other players, which I know. Vital role in this part ensures that maybe if it's digital, once you've been able to use probably their digital system, maybe you have a kind of beep on your phone, maybe through SMS or through your email, that reminds you that, okay, at so day you have 2 days to the vaccination of your birds, and you must vaccinate them, or you must give them so and so in terms of medication or whatsoever. You must be able to give. So you have that beep that comes to your phone regularly. or occasionally, as the case may be. So the use of digital record, apart from manual records, that can just ensure they can ensure that your productivity is actually improved. One is that you don't miss out the time in terms of vaccination because it's digital. It actually reminds you, you don't miss out the time. You know the exact time. Also, maybe in terms of feeding. So there are there are beeps within your farms. So when it's approaching the feeding time, maybe there's a constant time that the birds are to be fed, maybe morning and evening, morning as early as maybe 6:30 if it's laying birds, maybe as early as 6:30 they are being fed, and maybe when the sun is down, when the temperature, when the heat is actually down, maybe like 4, the birds are fed again. So maybe twice a day. So maybe there's a beep within the farm that reminds maybe farm workers that maybe are not conscious about the time, about the feeding time. So most of all these things all put together, once there are technology that are placed to do this, either in form of hardwares, in form of softwares. So example, maybe in form of softwares, maybe there's an add-on that is being created by FarmSpeak, and that add-on by FarmSpeak ensures that maybe there's a kind of alarm within the farm. Immediately, it's maybe 6:30 in the morning, the alarm goes off. When the alarm goes off until the farmer gets to maybe the pen and distributes the feed within the pen, presses back the alarm, that's when it stops. So some of these things actually helps to improve the overall productivity, because when these things are properly followed, we see that productivity increases and improves over time within this sector. And that's part of what we actually have to check. And also the current age of birds. We've had situations whereby farmers don't know the exact age of their birds. They don't know the exact age of um, the cycle that they are actually producing. You go to a farm and you ask the farmer, how old is this bird? And the farmer is saying, I think maybe 5 weeks, I think 6 weeks, whereas maybe the bird is about 9 weeks. So the farmer is not even able to track is not even able to track is not able to track the quality of what he's producing. He's not able to track what he's actually talking about, or he's not able to track anything. So that's part of what we are talking about. So once that is not achieved, once maybe there are no records for that, it becomes a problem. And where functionality comes in is when some of these products are digital, when some of all these things are digital, and that is where technology actually comes in and improves it. So also we have also, in terms of records, we have the digital input of customer details. When customer comes, maybe it's digitally imputed, because manual, anything can go wrong with manual systems. So when your customers, or the customers that regularly buys your input, maybe there's a digital platform, maybe FarmSpeak, I think FarmSpeak should have that. There's a digital platform whereby most of these details are placed. So it helps to be able to ensure that you can go back to it. You can also call, you can also reach out, and you can actually sell some of your products. And also the digital process of farm records, as well as workers' activities, instead of just having a manual system, is actually very, very vital. Right, is actually very, very vital and can be done. So another aspect whereby technology is actually playing a very vital role and can improve is actually in terms of bookkeeping. And why is bookkeeping very, very important? We have to have that, and the use of technology cannot be overemphasized in this. It's very, very important that expenses are recorded digitally and not just manually. I think there is a platform that is being provided by FarmSpeak. There are others that are providing. You can actually check that out for yourself also. But FarmSpeak is actually providing one. So your expenses must be digitally recorded. And it's something that cannot be overemphasized if you want your productivity to improve as a smallholder farmer. It's very, very essential that that must be done. And also, your in terms of your production. your production cycle as compared to the sales must be digitally recorded. Example, um, a broiler farmer produces about a thousand birds. What cost is that? Example, okay, what are the feeding costs? What is the cost of paying the staff that took care of that particular bird? What are the overheads that are being expended to actually reach the full cycle of that broilers compared to the sales that are being made across that broilers? What were the mortalities that was actually recorded? So that bookkeeping should be done digitally. And when it's done digitally, there are platforms that helps you to draw the graph. There are platforms that can help you to do the calculation without you doing all those calculations yourself, as long as you have imputed it day in, day out. Maybe you spent money on buying fuel to pump water to be able to ensure that water gets the birds take the adequate water. You've spent money to get some medication, as the case may be. Maybe in terms of antibiotics, you spend money to get maybe things like feed additives, or maybe in terms of things like probiotics, which are organic. Maybe you spent money to get that. As long as that is done, there must be a digital input, which is actually enabled by technology. And that will help you to be able to plot out any graph, to be able to draw, to be able to explain to you probably in layman terms, and also to give you maybe technical analysis or data. So one of the things is that you need data in terms of how you produce this. And it's our utmost joy and desire if even smallholder farmers don't do things consistently and continuously the way they've been doing it before. They must be able to ensure that, okay, we can use technology to improve our production. We can use technology to improve our productivity. We can use technology to have or to achieve desired results. And data is very, very vital, because it's the data that's when you can be able to plan other production cycles. That's when you can be able to know what to implement in other production cycle. And that is when you can be able to know what to do. So, closing on the pre-harvest, like what we have said, essentially, we've talked about the housing and input, how technology impacts it. We've talked about diet and nutrition, how technology impacts and how technology can improve the productivity of some of these products. And we've talked about records and bookkeeping, how technology can be able to improve that. Also, we've talked about killing and slaughtering equipment, how technology can also help to do that. So now we want to move quickly to the post-harvest aspect. So in terms of the post-harvest aspect, how how technology can be able to help in terms of post-harvest aspect is one, the killing and slaughtering of the birds when the birds are fully matured, or when your stocks are ready for sale. That's post-harvest. When you've harvested them from the cage or from your this to the killing and the slaughtering. So the use of automated or machine enabled devices is actually where technology comes in. How this killing, the system fast and hit killing and slaughtering of birds without carrying out animal abuse in any sort. And also the use of things like defeathering machines. The defeathering machines may not, some of maybe these machines, technology has been able to help to ensure that some can be locally fabricated and may not be able to cost much. So you have maybe a defeathering machine that can defeather 5, 10 birds within 3 minutes. And you also have within 3 minutes utilizing one label. And you have maybe if you want to defeather maybe 4, 5 birds by maybe one person, it can take maybe 20, 15 minutes. So you see that technology actually helps to reduce time as well as the amount that will be spent over a long period of time. So the use of technology actually helps to improve some of that, improve in terms of also quality of the kill, the quality of the dressing as well as the cutting of some of the product after it has been harvested. Then another very important aspect apart from that in the post harvest is actually storage. And we've been having a lot of issues with storage in terms of this industry. And why is because one, we have epileptic power supply within the country, as well as the cost of actually ensuring that we have quality storage system is very, very high. So it's very, very expensive. And the use of things like blasting equipment and freezing equipment is very, very expensive. You can have like a very small blasting machine that maybe can blast poultry product within 2 hours, costing as much as 3 million. Very small blasting machine, maybe that can blast maybe about maybe 500 to 600, and this game can cost as much as 3 4 million, which is quite expensive for a smallholder farmer. So we have an issue of storage, but technology is actually implementing, or technology is actually affecting um, the industry in the aspect of storage, because one, in the aspect of storage, you can have your products slaughtered at a particular time and stored without achieving or without having post-harvest loss, or with post-harvest loss or getting it spoiled, and the product is actually kept within its good or right condition. That is how technology has been able to impact. But when we have things like epileptic power supply and other things, and that's why as smallholder farmers, if you see some of these aspects, you can focus on one. You can focus on one, expend your funds on one. Not everybody should be all will be involved in production. But once you focus on one and you utilize the minimum use of technology, it will be able to enable and improve production as well as form clusters. Okay, now we have smallholder farmer A. He has focused on maybe the killing and the slaughtering of maybe poultry birds in terms of broilers, and he's just focused on that. And you see that if he forms a right clusters of other broiler farmers, people bring that to his house. He has the machine, or probably sorry, his farm or his workshop or his store, and they bring that in. And as they bring that in, he has the right equipment, and he charges some particular fee for that. And when he charges some particular fee for that, you can see that he has been able to use technology to actually improve productivity as well as focus on a particular aspect. Then maybe we have everybody that wants to do production, everybody wants to do all aspects, and because there is no adequate fund, or there is no adequate space, or no adequate funds to be able to ensure that the right technology is used in all this area, you see that things are not properly implemented. Example, we have people, or we have various startups as well as various industry players that are focused on a few. Example, our host, which is FarmSpeak, you can say, okay, they are focused on an aspect which is actually maybe record and bookkeeping as well as input. So they provide inputs for you so that you can be able to achieve desired results when you do your production. And also, they now provide a digital system or a digital platform that helps you to record, that helps you bookkeeping and every other thing, so that you can also improve productivity. So there's a focus. So they are not focusing on the killing and the slaughtering of this, or they are not focused on the storage of your product or whatsoever, but they've been able to focus on a particular aspect that can help you to improve production. So what they can do well for you is that maybe they may link you maybe to people that are focused on this killing and slaughtering, to people that are focused on storage, maybe, and to people that are focused on maybe lastly what we are going to talk about, which is the transportation and marketing. So, in terms of that, because all these play a vital role to improve productivity in terms of poultry production, everything that we've listed. So, if you see the aspect of transportation and marketing, we can see that there are a lot of people that are doing some things now. You can see that the two images that are there, you can see one which is by Kuza. We have a lot of other startups that are doing the aspect of transportation and marketing. We have likes of Kuza, Freezer. We have likes of a startup that I'm part of, which is Farmisphere. So you can see that the use of cooling boxes for transportation of produce, as well as combining other features to it. Example, what we are doing is that we have a kind of box that ensures that maybe for a period of 8 hours till maybe the chicken or what the chicken maybe gets to the doorstep of the consumer for a period of 8 hours, the temperature is maintained. The temperature of that particular the temperature within that particular box is maintained, and the product maintains that temperature till it gets to the doorstep of the consumer. So if you have a commuting time of about 8 hours, you are rest assured that maybe the 0 degree or the 2 degrees Celsius that your chicken requires to be able to be fresh till it gets to your doorstep is actually gotten, because it can take maybe a period of maybe 8 hours or maybe between 2 to 3 hours to be able to commute within urban cities. And we've been able to have that box that as much as 8 hours, it can maintain that temperature condition till it gets to your doorstep. So you see that this is very vital. And how is that? It's improving productivity by ensuring that we don't have much spoilage. We don't have spoilages, we don't have post-harvest losses, and we are able to transport even these perishable items like maybe chickens or that have been processed. We can be able to transport it to the doorstep of a consumer without it getting spoiled. So that's the aspect of transportation. And a lot of people are beginning to play vital roles in this industry. And where you have maybe in the aspect of this, you have Cobox, I think Kobo 360 and the rest. So when you can be able to transport some of this product which are perishable without having post-harvest loss is actually a plus. And that's where technology comes in. That's where technology comes in. And part of it is that you can actually go a step further, like what we are doing. It actually sends feedback of the temperature within the box, and how cool it is to us, so that we know that, okay, is there a place that it can be quickly plugged and the temperature can increase again. So some of those things actually helps to be able to ensure that maybe transportation of these items are done properly. And also in the aspect of marketing cannot be overemphasized, because if you don't have the right market to be able to sell your product, you have product or you've been able to engage in production and there's no yield, there's no result, and you don't get money. The reason why we actually function in business is actually one, apart from just making an impact and solving a need, is actually being paid for that, because it's the payment that you are paid for solving the need that is what will ensure that you continually solve that need that you're solving. So it's very, very vital. The aspect of transportation, it's very, very vital, and it's essential that that is actually put in place. It's very, very essential, it's vital that that is put in place. And when we have that, we see that we can be able to have a more productive, a more functional, a more better, and a more lasting system. And with all this, and one of the things I would want to say categorically is that um, we can, as farmers, as smallholder farmers, as the case may be, we can be able to focus on a particular aspect and ensure that we adopt the right technologies, we adopt the right systems. And by the time we've been able to adopt that, we become a major player in that aspect. And after we become a major player in that aspect, there are clusters that can be formed, clusters within this value chain that can be formed. And when those clusters within this value chain are formed, we see that productivity in the long run, productivity in the short run also is being improved. It can be better. And as smallholder farmers, we should actually look out for players within this industry that we can be able to use their technology and their systems to be able to achieve desired results. And as the case may be, I've said some and I've mentioned some. We can actually ensure that we use the likes, okay, we can use the likes of FarmSpeak, their systems, what they produce. They have digital systems for record keeping, for bookkeeping. We can ensure that we use that to be able to produce or to be able to have a desired result. We have the likes of VetSac, we have the likes of eVet, and those are digital telemedicine stores that we can be able to patronize various services, and patronizing their various services can help us to improve productivity. Although these are tech enabled devices in terms of hardware and software, and this would help us to improve productivity in the long run. And in terms of the aspects of nutrition and diet of our poultry birds for meat and eggs, as the case may be, we must also ensure that we use some of these products that have been designed or have been formulated, especially formulated and bettered out of the use of technology. So that is the only way we can be able to improve productivity. We can be able to achieve productivity. And one thing that is clear as we are going as smallholder farmers, let's focus on a particular niche, build a particular niche, impute the right technology. There is no aspect of what or the various paths that I've actually said, or probably try to break down, which is actually broader than this, but try to break down and try to put together. There is no part of it that is not maybe capital intensive to be able to do one, and there's no part that cannot give you the required result in terms of monetary value. We have people in the over 70% deficit of meat and eggs that we have farms that their eggs are still within the farms and they get spoiled within the farms. We have people that produce poultry birds for meat, that's broilers, as the case may be, or noilers, or any other birds for meat. And those birds stay there and they begin to die because they run out of cash, they don't have markets to sell. And we have a 70% deficit. Why? One, they've not been able to utilize use of technology in terms of marketing. They've not been able to properly reach out using technology. And that's part of what we are talking about. So before you can be able to improve your productivity, you must be able to utilize it. And there are various, as I've said earlier, there are various startups that are doing fantastically well in each of these areas. We can be able to utilize them. Example, even in terms of the building. So you have people that construct their pens or their systems, and by the time they construct their pens and their system, it's not properly done, or they are not things that are properly done to be able to, even as a smallholder farmers, to be able to ensure that at least a minimum condition or living condition for these birds to function optimally is achieved. So this is part of where you have the likes of poultry care that comes in to help you to construct. They construct from ground state till it's finished, ensure that the water, the mechanical and electrical part is there. These are some of the things. So we have maybe startups like that that helps to actually achieve this. And you have things like maybe inputs that can ensure that you have a better system, and some of these inputs may be provided by startups like even FarmSpeak, provided by startups like DoFarm. You have a lot of startups that can help you to be able to ensure that maybe technology, the utilization of technology can be able to help you improve your productivity. And I believe that with these few things that we've been able to discuss so far, I think we can be able to see that there are various aspects in various areas whereby technology is coming in and is helping people to actually improve productivity. Thank you very much for listening, and thank you. And I would be pleased to have any question or whatsoever. Thank you. Over to you, Miwa.
Thank you, Mr. Joseph. And there's a point there. He said it's necessary for us to utilize technology if we want to improve our productivity. Yes, thank you for that point. You're stating that. Okay, we have some questions. Please, you can put it in the comment section, your questions. And as we take questions too, there are some few points that's also in the comment section that I would also like to read. One is the poultry industry alone is huge, and there are a lot of fields to play. There are a lot of sorry, the poultry industry is a huge one. There are a lot of fields to do this industry. You have the production, the processing, the storage, the marketing. find a niche and solve a problem by using technology. And I also have one here that says technology has also built a free to use record keeping app for poultry farmers. Remote sensing, remote monitoring is also essential. Mr. Joseph, I have a question here for you.
Okay.
Do one need a technical know-how to use technology to increase productivity?
Okay. So in terms of the use of some of this, it also depend on the aspect. So some of these um, technologically enabled devices are very easy to use because if you're running a startup, for as many of us that are running startups, one of the key things that we actually put at the back of our mind when providing a solution is how easy is it to use by a layman. If the person is uneducated or the person doesn't even have maybe the basic know-how, how easy is it to use? So some of these systems are very easy to use, and some of these systems, the people actually give you um, maybe post-sale services. That means they guide you through the use within a particular period of time or frame of time. I have there are a few startups, and I think even our host can maybe attest to that. I think they do that. So if you have a pen keep, they guide you maybe through the process of how you are going to use it, maybe till you actually end. You've mastered the use of that. So some of these things are there, and I think I've been able to see maybe some pictures from them, how they guide smallholder farmers to use their platform for records and bookkeeping and every other thing. So some of these systems or some of these tech-enabled devices, in terms of hardwares and softwares, you see that the makers actually provide maybe apart from just manuals, they give you maybe post-sale services of ensuring that you master the use of the system before maybe they leave you to be able to carry it on your own. And some of them, they give also post-sale services by coming to check maybe from time to time the functionality and whether it's actually still functional or it's still optimal and you are using it properly. So these are some of the things that we can derive from this or we can derive from the system. So the technology, it's very easy to use and it can be used by anyone. You don't need to have all the skills. You can master the particular one that you want to use and use it effectively to aid, to enable, to improve, and to ensure that your production is actually optimal.
Yes, thank you. I have another question. I think you've answered that. Probably, just recap this. How do I go about this technology from Joyce?
Sorry, can you come again? Okay, how do you go about the technology? Okay, so some of these technologies, as I've said earlier, you must identify some of the startups that are playing within these areas. And like we mentioned, okay, the pre-harvest and the post-harvest. Example, maybe in terms of record and bookkeeping, the host is actually playing a vital role there. Our host, which is FarmSpeak, is playing a vital role there. They have a digitally enabled software device that helps you to be able to digitally keep your record and it gives you back the way it's done, gives you a proper database of that, which would help to improve your productivity. Also, maybe they have input. So some of these aspects, there are startups that are actually within this. In terms of if you need a telemedicine store, like a digital telemedicine store. You have the likes of VetSac, you have the likes of eVet. They have digital telemedicine, maybe stores that you can go and you can check. Okay, what is this condition? What can we say about this condition in line with our poultry production and all those other things? Then you have various maybe various startups that are into various things. Example, like I said earlier when I was speaking, poultry care, I think they are very much into the construction, the housing, and how to ensure that this housing are effective, both for smallholder farmers and for large-scale farmers. Then you have various other players, startups that can help you to be able to ensure that there is technology implementation in what you want to do and how you want to achieve. And you also know that in terms of maybe housing, Another aspect of technology can be also the manure scrapers and manure dryers, which helps to ensure that there's no smell, maybe there's no laborious this of getting people to want to pack and to want to. So all those things are maybe hardwares that are technologically enabled to ensure that your productivity over time increase. You make more money, you save more time, you reduce labor in terms of manpower and every other thing, but you also do things effectively, efficiently, you get desired results, you increase your stock, you get the desired stocks that you need, as well as you get the right market to sell your product, and you make money at the end of the day while ensuring that impact is achieved. And that's just it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Mr. Kali James, as a smallholder farmer, how can we get assistance by getting these technologies at a much affordable rate? Can the government assist us? What do you have to say regarding that?
Okay, in terms of government assistance, yes, we have a lot of programs that government are assisting. Also, we have a lot of programs, more programs whereby you have the private sector involvement into it. For example, if you can maybe you can take loans, you can maybe apply for grants and some other things. Maybe loans, you have a SWAFI kind of loan. I think it's SWAFI or SWAFI Finance by Sterling Bank, and they can be able to provide a loan. I think it's together a MasterCard of up to 20 million. So you have things like that, but you also have grant programs and every other thing. So, but one of the things is that, that's part of the way you can be able to ensure that you raise finance to be able to um, improve or impute technology in. Then also, part of what you can do is look at some of these startups. What are they offering? So, example, I think there was even a period by maybe FarmSpeak, they were actually giving pen keep maybe for test period for a particular kind of time or for a particular kind of period. Maybe you can talk to them. Maybe they are also a very big and rich startup. So maybe if you can talk to them, they can maybe provide you input, or they can even provide you some of this their technology that they use for their record and bookkeeping. I think there was a time that they were offering it maybe free, maybe to this in all particular kind of tokens. This can be able to help you for a period of time. And there are some startups that offer some of this thing within a fee or within a spread rate kind of payment option. So these things can also help, as well as not maybe jettisoning the part of government in terms of loan, or private sector in terms of loan and grants and every other thing. But by the time you can be able to package, or you can properly put together what you have, there are things that you can be able to get. We had grants like the US AID on which is actually a sponsor of this, on the agri sector and every other thing. So those are some of the things that can help you to be able to implement technology here and there, especially within this industry. So by the time you are able to, first of all, map out what you really want, one, then first of all, see if the startup can be able to provide you what you really want. If it's too capital intensive, then now you begin to look at the option of the grants, the loan, and other things. But once you've been able to map out what you really want, providing a solution to go about that will be much more easier for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Joseph.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. I think our time is well spent and fast spent too. So we have some other questions, but I'll give the contact address so that we'll be able to attend to such questions. Then some people are not tech inclined, they are not really interested in technology. What will you advise such ones to do regarding the use of technology to boost their production?
Okay. So in terms of not being tech inclined, I would answer that question separately. They're not interested. I would answer the question separately. First of all, not being tech inclined is, as I said earlier, is not an excuse to be able to push out the use of technology in terms of improving your productivity. Why? Um, you can have maybe people, you can have a person that helps to manage this. And some of these systems are um, they are self managing. Example, maybe you have maybe a device, and why I'm using this device is that it's our host, so they have a better maybe understanding or a view about it. Maybe you have this device that is called penkeep. What do you tell the person? Press red, or maybe for example, press red or press blue. When you hear pim pim pim, that means the temperature of your room is not suitable for what you have there. And that is just simple. And when you put the temperature at the right condition, the pim, 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 or the beeping sound stops. That's just a simple explanation. So the person is not maybe trying to join this sensor or trying to bring this sensor or whatever. It has been done by the startup or by the tech company or by maybe farm speak. So what you just need to do is, okay, how does it work? How does it relate to my daily practice? So that is the aspect of being tech enabled. So it's just some of these devices are self managing. And also now for the other question of not being interested in technology, one thing you would ask the person is, are you interested in making more money? Are you interested in improving your productivity? That is the first question. If you're interested in making more money, if you're interested in improving your productivity, you must be interested in something that will help you to improve that. It's something, there's no two ways about it, except you're not interested in, okay, how do I achieve a 3.5 kg bird in 6 weeks? Not the normal 2.5 kg, and it's going to sell higher and with the same or a reduced amount of feed, thereby reducing production cost. So if you have that within your mind, you would utilize technology. And if you've experienced loss, let me use that word also. If you've experienced loss one way or the other, you would also know that you would love to use technology. For example, a farmer that has 1,000 birds and the whole bed maybe dies without him being able to sell because it got to a time of harvest and there is no market, there is no buyer. He would look for maybe a farmers fair, or he would look for maybe Afrimash, or he look for a digital platform that he would go and he would push it to. So when you have some of these people, you don't even need to literally operate some of these things yourself. You can just actually call, or they have various means whereby you can just reach out. Okay, I have 1,000 beds, and they help you. They do all the marketing and every other thing. Maybe, and there's a certain percentage that is being cut out of it. So you see that most of these tech-enabled things are self-managing. That what you just need to do is that they just need your cooperation to just push the call, place the call, know when this beeping sound comes, what it actually means. And I think I've seen a pen keep device, and a normal person who doesn't know anything about technology or didn't even go to school can be able to understand. If he sees 36, he knows that that's 36 degrees Celsius. If he sees 26, he knows that that is it. So when he hears the beeping sound, he knows that, okay, oh, this thing is lower. Okay, let me put heat, or let me open up the place so that there will be fed. So you know that all those things are actually in place. So that is my answer to this question. So if you want more money, if you want to increase your productivity, you must love technology, and you must love to implement technology, whether you like it or not, except you don't want to. And one of the things that we have is that once we as the tech people can be able to show these people that, look, if you do this, if you do XYZ, your product is going to go higher, your product, you are going to have more money. You see that most of them, they rush to actually implement it. It's because we've not been able to show them. That's why you cannot, the adaptation is actually very, very low. But once you're able to show them and they see with their eyes and they know, you see that the adaptation increases. Thank you.
Thank you. That's a question. If he wants to make more money or not. Everyone wants to make more money in business.
Very true.
Question is the answer is yes to that question. So if you wants to make more profit, yes, you need to use technology. Thank you, Mr. Joseph for answers to those providing answers to those questions. And okay, we have more questions, but we will be stopping here for now. You can reach Mr. Ante Joseph on LinkedIn, Ante Joseph on Facebook, Ante Joseph on Twitter at Ante Joseph 2, and on link on Instagram at Ante Joseph. Oh, you can reach him on that too. Then we can also reach us on FastSpeak, on Telegram at FastSpeak, Instagram at farm_speak, on Facebook at FastSpeak Technology, Twitter at FastSpeak1, and on LinkedIn at FastSpeak Technology. I can also read the WhatsApp contact there, +234 816 765 7384, as well as +234 808 360 7945. Okay, for instance, Ms. Joyce, you can reach us to also have more demo and inquiries regarding your questions. Thank you, Blessing, Daniel. Thank you, Roots. I can see some comments here. We appreciate your comment. And then I can see a comment here. When, oh, please, is this program monthly? When is it? Yes, it is monthly, and next month will be different. Will be different. Be expecting something regarding technology. Fast speed technology, I've been improving on that to also assist and also make these poultry farmers improve their productivity. What other technology are in place? Please join us next month for that. Mr. Joseph, I don't know if you are still there. We want to say thank you for coming, and thank you for letting us see that technology is important. Yes, we don't necessarily need to be tech inclined. We all use technology. We all have smart devices. So if we can use that, then it is possible for us to also use technology in our business. Please don't forget to subscribe to this channel and reach us on this appropriate channel too, as well as our speaker, Mr. Joseph, on his handles. And this is how much we take for this edition of our Farmers Empowerment series, brought to you by FastSpeed Technology, proudly supported by USAID. We hope to see you some other time. Do enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.